Good morning, everybody. I got something here real quick that I want to share with y'all. I'm reading in James, and I want to talk about a deal called biblical integrity. And integrity to me, whenever I was in the Marine Corps, I had a drill instructor who would always drive in the word integrity by saying, integrity is doing the right thing even when no one's looking. And that sounds simple enough. A lot of us have a good enough moral compass, religion aside, that we try to do the right thing even when no one's looking. And but by that I mean we have to do, as far as biblical integrity goes, we not only have to do the right thing when no one's looking, but we have to do the right thing when no one's looking with a pure heart. We have to have our heart set in Christ, and we have to want to do these things. Now, I understand that things do take work. You're not just going to naturally be good. I mean, we're sinful people by nature. That's how we are. But if we can want to have biblical integrity, if we can have the drive and the determination, and our heart is right where we want to do these things because it pleases God and because that's what we're supposed to do. If we want to do these things and our heart's right, then that shows our biblical integrity. And once we show our biblical integrity, the goal is to make our outside person reflect our inside person. And so we want people to see the goodness, the biblical integrity we want to project from our heart to the outside, so people can see that and know that we're legit and know that we're real. And one thing that got me on this topic, if I'm being honest, was me and my wife were talking, and I ended up catching myself talking about how other people were doing things wrong and how other people were doing this. And I realized, man, I'm doing the one thing I say every week not to do. And it was terrible of me. But once I did that, man, Jesus put a mirror right in front of my face. Man, I was looking right at the culprit. And what he's told me, what I mainly got out of it, and it was specifically, I can hear it vividly, is if the people that we lead to Christ, if the people that we introduce to Christ, maybe not even some kind of super awe-inspiring where they hit their knees and come to Christ, but the people that you introduce to Christ and you show to Christ, if after you introduced them to Christ, they could come into your house as a fly on the wall for a week without your knowledge or anyone else's knowledge, and see the way that as a man you lead your family, or as a wife you treat your husband, or as a kid you obey your parents, if they could see the way that you operated in your home for a week after you introduced them, they still want to follow the Christ that you introduced them to. And if your answer is no, then we're probably doing something wrong. And if someone was to hear me talk about other people and how I think they're doing things wrong, well, they probably wouldn't want to follow the Christ that I've been trying to lead them to, if I'm being honest. And so I had to really take a dose of my own medicine. And I've said before, I really don't like that. That's not fun for me. But I say all that to say, our hearts have to be where they're supposed to be. We have to be right with God. We have to have biblical integrity, so people will want to follow the Christ that we introduce them to, that we can live a life full of integrity and practice the things that we preach. And so in James 1:26, it says, if you claim to be religious but don't control your tongue, you are fooling yourself, and your religion is worthless. And so, like I said, I had to take some of my own medicine, and I don't like that. And so, I'd just like to encourage you to think about that. If you introduce someone to Christ, or you show someone Christ, and it seems all great, and they think that you're the real deal, but they come into your home without your knowing, and they could be a fly on the wall, would they still follow the Christ that we talk about? Would they still follow the Christ that we claim to follow? And, in Matthew 7:16, Jesus is speaking, and he says that you'll know them by the fruits of their lives. So he's telling them that you'll know them by their fruits. And he's talking about false witnesses, false prophets. And, if someone's out there searching for answers and they're searching for God, they're going to know by our fruits, by the things that we produce, that our lives produce. They're going to know if we're the real deal. And, I like things simple. And on verse 17, Jesus says, a good tree will produce good fruit, and a bad tree will produce bad fruit. That's simple, and that's true. And so I'd like to encourage you to produce good fruit if you can. I know it sounds simple enough, but we have to work at things. But if our heart's where it needs to be, and if we seek Christ and ask for His guidance and ask for His protection and have Him show us these things, have Him help us to control our tongue more with our family, or control our lives. We need to control our lives more as if people are watching, because they are. And we have to have biblical integrity. So I would like to encourage everybody to just step back and just kind of assess your situation and where you're at in life, because I know I did this past week, and it wasn't fun. So anyhow, I'm going to keep working on it for myself, and I hope everybody else can too. Have a good week and keep praying for each other.